The diesel, once the prerogative of bus drivers and those tedious little blokes who discuss fuel economy and road numbers at wine and cheese parties, but no more. Modern technology means that a diesel engine need no longer sound like a dustbin full of baking tins landing in a skip. In fact, they can be whisper quiet, as clean as a surgeon's thumb, and go like a train.
So we've gathered together 3 of today's oil burners to see just what they've got to offer. And together they represent most of Europe.
And we're starting our continental tour off in France, a country in which the diesel has long been socially acceptable. This is the Peugeot 406, the best-selling diesel-engine passenger car in Europe.
From Italy, perhaps more famous for beautiful if rather impractical sports cars than utilitarian commuter steeds, the gorgeous Alfa 156 JTD.
And from Germany, a country where we're told they pay attention to detail, we have the incredibly well-built Volkswagen Passat TDI. Of course, French manufacturers have long been associated with diesel engines, and Peugeot have always been at the forefront of developing new and sophisticated diesels, which means that their 406 is looked on as a benchmark in the diesel market. It may be practical, but it offers style and driver enjoyment. And in this 406, there's a 2-litre HDI engine on offer for you to enjoy. And it's to be hoped that it provides plenty of excitement, because the styling isn't exactly thrilling. In here, it all looks very functional, I'm afraid. But because this is the top-of-the-range model, you get leather and a few fancy gadgets, things like heated seats and armrests, but it really doesn't cut it in the style stakes. Well, never mind, it's the engine that we're interested in. So let's see how this one fares. The 2-litre engine in this model produces 96 brake horsepower and the top speed is 112 miles per hour. 0 to 60 takes a rather tedious 12.5 seconds. But then remember, this is a diesel. You choose a diesel because it's affordable and because it's a sensible option.
Not bad at all, but I think that the best-selling diesel saloon from France has got some serious competition from Germany in the form of this, the Volkswagen Passat TDI PD. Inside this Passat, it is typically Volkswagen, which means it's very sombre, rather serious and all a bit grown up. That said, there's no shortage of toys to keep the likes of me occupied on a longer journey. We've got probably the most elaborate cup holder I've ever seen, air conditioning, and on this one, radio navigation system as well. But does it sound like a bus? Well, no, not too much. Neither does it drive like a bus. 60 miles an hour comes up in a shade under 12.5 seconds, and it'll keep going to about 120 miles an hour. Perfectly respectable figures. And that feeling of being grown up about the interior does translate into the drive as well. It all feels very solid, very stable and very secure on the road. I'm beginning to feel quite responsible here. I reckon that the Passat's combination of luxury and practicality could tip the scales today.
Thanks to direct injection, the likes of BMW and Audi now produce vehicles that you could never know were oil burners. And Alfa Romeo are rather keen to muscle in on the action, which they've done by putting a 2.4-litre turbo diesel into this, the very gorgeous Alfa 156. When it comes to style, it's hardly surprising that the Italians outclass the rest of Europe. After all, according to them, they're the nation that invented it. And it's one of the few cars that has an interior that matches the gorgeous outside. There's a lovely sporty feeling in here, and the twin sculpted seats give it a cockpit-like feel. At first, it's difficult to associate the Italians with a diesel. It's such a practical concept. But apparently, they are quite fond of them, because although this is the first diesel Alfa in the UK, 30% of the company's European business involves diesel-powered cars, and this one is a beauty. This engine is the first to use a new high-pressure direct injection system, which means it can produce an impressive 136 brake horsepower. And the other figures are equally as good. 0 to 60 takes around 9.5 seconds. And this car will still be pushing on to a rather naughty 126 miles an hour, long after the other two have run out of steam.
But hold on a second, these are diesels we're talking about here. Buckley's getting all carried away talking about performance. What about the economy?
Oh yes, the sensible stuff. Well, the Peugeot offers excellent value for money at the pumps. You can expect on average 51.3 miles to the gallon for the princely sum of £21,400.
Despite being a bigger, more powerful car, the Passat will return a very handy 53.3 miles for every gallon of Derv splashed in the tank. And it'll cost you to buy just £19,400.
And what about our hot little Alfa? Well, there's no such thing as a free lunch, so they say. And you can expect just 42.1 miles to the gallon for the sum, though, of £20,300. OK, Richard, which is it to be?
Well, the Peugeot is the most expensive of the bunch.
But it's also the most boring. It's got to go.
That leaves us with the Passat, which is probably the best all-rounder.
And it's going to last the longest, but it's just a little bit boring.
So that leaves us with just the Alfa.
You've done the sensible thing. You've bought a diesel. You deserve to have some fun.
So who said diesels have to be boring after all?